This week we are driving the 2020 2.3 liter high performance Mustang. 332 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque from the Focus RS engine. This one has a 10-speed automatic. It's got a lot of performance, not as good of a sound and not as much character as the V8, but this thing is still quite a weapon on the street, and I would also assume on the track. Let's walk you around this thing. We'll show you what it's all about. It's quite awesome looking in this grabber lime green. It's a little pricey as spec'd, including destination and everything. This one is $43,000. The four-cylinder Mustang starts around 31 grand, and with the suspension handling package, the high performance package, the automatic transmission, that hikes the price up to over $42,000. It looks good though. You get 19-inch wheels, Pirelli P0 summer tires, some cool little accents throughout, an active exhaust, Magne-rie suspension, this little spoiler here in the back, as well as these fading hood stripes in the front that actually look quite awesome. Big, nice, beefy front rotors. And of course, you save a ton of weight in the four-cylinder compared to the V8. You also get a strut tower brace. This has a special turbo. It's a little bit different from the Focus RS's. They've specifically tuned the 10-speed automatic. Yeah, I'm curious to see what this thing drives like. These are my first impressions. I haven't really spent a lot of seat time in this yet, but I'm excited to get behind the wheel and share the drive experience with you guys. Otherwise, it's pretty standard Mustang. You guys know the deal. We had a convertible GT a couple weeks ago, and I loved it. It was fantastic. That was such a fun car. Let's see if the four-cylinder is also an enjoyable drive. I think, you know, the fact that you start up, you get into this cockpit, you look at this car, you start it up, and it's just kind of, you get that four-cylinder rattle at the beginning. It's a little bit of a letdown initially, but the driving experience might redeem itself, especially if you're into, I don't know, lightness. So before we get into the drive, I'd like to thank our sponsor for today's video. We are back with Fantom wallet, and they have a new accessory that they sent me to test out, and I've actually been using this wallet on a daily basis, and it's awesome. It's been really nice. I love the fact that I just don't feel it in my pocket. All my pants are ruined by my old leather square wallets, and this I kind of check every now and then to see if it's still back there. But I love that. That's how slim it is. So the accessory that they sent me is this silicone band attachment, and it makes it even slimmer because you can get rid of the money clip. So I just slip my bills right in there, and I'm good to go. Pretty easy, pretty simple, and yeah, I've actually been really enjoying using this thing. It's been pretty awesome. So thanks, Fantom, for sponsoring this video. If you guys have any questions, check them out. I'll put a link in the description, and there's also a discount code in there as well. We'll put that right here. All right, so driving impressions. Everything here is standard Mustang cabin. You have a couple different exhaust modes. There is a quiet mode that is very quiet. There's a normal mode. Get a little bit more volume. And let's just go all the way to track. Get some pops and bangs in there. That's always fun. And when you change drive modes, it will also change the exhaust and Magne-rie suspension, which is quite nice. We're going to start off in normal, and we'll go from there. First impressions on this automatic, very positive shifting into gear from park. It's almost like you're, clicking a drag racing transmission into gear. It's pretty cool. It has a really neat click when you engage it in a drive or reverse. That's actually pretty nice. let's set off and let's see what this thing's like on the road. Close gear spacing with the 10-speed auto, and it shows you what gear you're in, so you get a pretty good idea of what's happening. And this is probably the Mustang strong suit, the corners. You can feel just at the beginning of turn-in that there is a ton of front-end grip. There's a little bit of tram lighting from the wider tires. This 10-speed automatic is a little bit all over the place, I will say that. I've noticed in the first 40 miles or so behind the wheel that it's a little bit difficult to predict. Let's put it into sport mode. We'll turn traction control off, do a little bit of a launch here. It's no slouch, but again, we are lacking a lot of the drama and excitement from that V8. Sorry to say. This definitely sounds different from the Focus RS engine. What do you guys think? Is 10 speeds too much? That guy on his bike just now has probably 10 speeds. Lexus seems to pull it off in their LC500, but I don't know. I'm not sure. The tuning here seems like it needs a little bit of work. Bit of a strange experience, but it's an easy fix. Just get the manual. So I think let's leave that idea and those thoughts on the transmission there. Otherwise, the power band on this is pretty impressive. Put it into sport mode, select a gear, any one gear. Got a lot of low-end torque, which is great. Paddles have a little bit of a delay to them, but they seem to work pretty well. Yeah, this is one of those cars that is just really well sorted. I think the suspension and the handling and the dynamics on this are much more impressive than the Mustang GT convertible we had a couple weeks ago. This feels much more planted. That Magne-rie is definitely doing its job. Yeah, it's very predictable. Just a little bit more steering feel too. I think this would be a very enjoyable car with the 6-speed manual transmission. that's in normal drive mode. It's actually not bad. Let's see what we do in Sport Plus. Our gauge cluster changes. Our transmission tuning changes a little bit. It's more aggressive. We're hunting around for gears a little bit more. You can definitely feel the suspension firm up. Yeah, I would say if you're looking at one of these, I would highly recommend the Magne-rie. It definitely makes this car just feel more buttoned together. Well sorted chassis. Oh good, we get a little bit of an acceleration here. Yeah, you can see it downshift every single gear. Definitely quick. Yeah, the handling on this is very good for a Mustang. You know, you definitely feel the weight, but the front end is so much lighter and more nimble than the V8. You can notice that immediately. But the emotional experience, the smile, that enjoyment factor, I'm left a little bit numb. There's a lot of noise going on here, but it's not necessarily something that's pleasant that I want to bring this car out and listen to. And for the price, for 43 grand, I'd kind of rather have a GT. Sport Plus, this transmission is all over the place. I think so. This is actually a pretty good car. It's let down a little bit by this 10-speed. I think it's best just in normal mode. I haven't really played around with the steering. Usually I prefer normal mode with that, but there's actually a pretty decent amount of feel through here for Mustangs that are typically relatively numb. Maybe some of that is the lighter front end on this can allow for a little bit better steering feel, a bit nicer tuning with the suspension. This does have a stiffer sway bar setup, and with the Magne-rie dampers, there's definitely a little bit more suspension sophistication going on here. There are a lot of gauges and lots of information that you can see. You can see your oil pressure, your boost, your vacuum, all that good stuff. You can even get into cylinder head temps, tire pressures. If you're tracking this car, you will have enough information to do what you need to do and do it safely, and look at all of your temperatures and maintain all that stuff on a track day, which is great. On the highway, very comfortable, great visibility. Really the only practical complaint I have is these mirrors are just so tiny, but luckily they do have blind spot monitoring, which is great. On the kickdown, this 10-speed is quite responsive, so that's nice. Guys, it's amazing the range of performance and options that you have in the Mustang lineup these days. You go from this all the way to a GT500 with almost supercar levels of performance and excitement, and it's just a crazy piece of kit. It's kind of any flavor of your choosing. Let's have a little bit of fun. You're not supposed to do this on the street, but let's put it into track mode. We'll get that cool gauge cluster, and yeah, see what we can toss together here. I like track mode. Getting nice automatic downshifts. Yep, another car that it's a little bit too fast or too sticky for the street. It's going to be hard to find the capabilities of this on normal roads. And even on track mode, it finds 8th gear on the highway. I like that. Of course, you can go engage the paddles and get all the way up to 10th gear. So, okay, so what will we change about the 2.3 liter? I think really my main gripe here is the transmission. This 10-speed just needs some more refinement. And that's kind of how I've always felt about the Ford 10-speeds. In certain modes, it's actually quite good. In track mode, it's excellent. In normal mode, it's actually quite good. You put it into Sport and Sport Plus, and it can get a little bit confusing because the tuning just isn't quite sorted for those drive modes. So I think at the extremes, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And if you don't want to drive stick, this isn't a deal breaker. It's not a Toyota Tacoma that's all over the place. There's plenty of torque and power here, and you can kind of customize the exhaust if you get the active exhaust to suit whatever levels of drone and tone you want. This is definitely a more nimble and sprightly driving experience. It kind of solves a lot of the handling woes that I had in the Mustang convertible we had a couple weeks ago. Of course, that was a convertible. This is a coupe, more chassis stiffening here. But on a handling front, this is quite impressive. It's really predictable. There's a good amount of feedback from the wheel and from the chassis. Let's see how we do around this entrance ramp here and give this one more shot around a corner. I think what we're going to have to do is get one of these out on the track later this year and see how it does under some really high performance driving. Maybe we'll be able to snag a manual then too. Let's put it in sport mode, use the paddles. The paddles are plasticky and cheap feeling, so that doesn't help that much. There is so much grip, so much traction. Ooh, it's sticky, especially once the tires heat up. And it's a quick steering rack, so you don't feel like you're really putting that much steering angle into things. That's fun. Let's go back into normal drive mode, and maybe if we hit the Mustang button we can put it into quiet. Nice little feature from Ford there, very considerate of owners, neighbors. You can do quiet startup mode too, which is great. In the morning it won't wake up all your neighbors at 5 a.m. if you have to go to work. And it actually sounds pretty good in quiet mode, if I'm honest, because lets you hear the engine and the turbo. And that's another thing, is the way this thing sounds doesn't really let you hear much turbocharged goodness. If you have a turbo, you want to hear the whoosh, and I could definitely go with more whoosh. That's more like it. Now that's what it sounds like. That's actually pretty good. I like that. hear the turbo kicking in there. You know, even in normal drive mode, this thing is pretty good. You can engage the paddles. They're not too slushy. They're pretty similar to some of the other higher performance drive modes. Maybe I'm just getting old, but quiet mode, that seems to be kind of the sweet spot here. I honestly think it sounds better. Okay guys, well hopefully you've learned some stuff on this first impressions drive with me. I definitely have. We will get some more time in this 2.3 EcoBoost this week. Probably go out for a night drive. Thanks again to our sponsor, Fantom Wallet. And of course, as always, stay tuned on the Winding Road YouTube channel for more videos on this 2.3 liter high performance Mustang. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys in the next video. I do like this shifter. It's very nice, very satisfying. Yeah. It definitely looks the business.